a couple moments.
You know what? I'm gonna be honest. It's been a really long day, and I'm feeling really tired. I could really use some coffee right now.
You know what, Ellie? I think I just have the right thing for you. We may not have any coffee on us at the moment, but our next speaker might be enough to give you the boost of energy that you need.
Hailing from Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, our next speaker is a third-year civil engineering student who has a passion for coffee.
Now he's here to share with us all what makes Vietnamese coffee so special, not just in its flavor profile, but also in its connection to Vietnam. Please join us in welcoming our next speaker, Kenny, to the stage.
All right, who here drinks coffee to stay alive in college? Yeah, relatable. Well, as we all know, coffee contains caffeine, which is a wonderful substance to, keep us energized, awake, and ready to tackle work. To some people, it's a drink in the morning to kickstart their day. To some others, it's a bridge for conversations between friends, family, and potential dates. I honestly relate to all of that except for the very last part. However, I do believe that there's a side to coffee that people have yet to explore. And today I would like to walk you through my journey with coffee, specifically Vietnamese specialty coffee, or as we call it, café đặc sản. For those of you who don't know, I was born and raised in Vietnam, and I came to the US for an education. About 3 or 4 years ago, at the height of the COVID pandemic, a lot of businesses in Vietnam had halted their work, some even permanently closed. My parents knew that they had to explore a different type of work to support our family financially, and coffee was one of the fields that they explored. This was how I was first introduced to the world of Vietnamese specialty coffee through my engagement with a local entrepreneurial business. Now, Vietnamese coffee is pretty well known around the world for not great reasons. A lot of people think of it as a bitter, dense, and thick liquid that brings your heart rate up as if you just chugged 10 cans of an energy drink. Within the specialty coffee world, people perceive it to have toasty and earthy notes, which are incomparable to the sweet, floral and fruity notes that you can get from other countries' beans, such as Colombia, Kenya, etc. This unfortunately leads to a negative global representation of Vietnamese coffee. So, what makes good coffee, you might ask? Well, through my experience, I've come to learn that coffee goes through 4 stages: green beans, roasting, brewing, and tasting. And we also call it the bean to cup experience. Each stage plays an equally important part in creating a great cup of a beautifully brewed liquid beverage that people enjoy. So now let's think of our coffee as it goes through each stage. Right, so for green beans, there are 2 types of coffee that are mainly consumed around the world: Robusta and Arabica. Robusta is primarily grown in and exported by Vietnam. It has a strong flavor profile, very full-bodied, and has a distinctive cacao-like taste. It is also more sustainable. It's a hardy crop, requires less water, and can withstand higher temperatures. On the other hand, Arabica is exported by most other countries and has a widespread consumption around the world. It is completely the opposite. The brew that you get from this yields floral and fruity notes, and it's a lot lighter than Robusta. However, it can only be grown in high altitudes and is extremely vulnerable to diseases. So, for coffee to taste delicious, it has to ripen inside of its fruit. The sugar content rises until you can taste that in your cup. So we now run into our very first problem, farmers. Farmers in Vietnam are paid by the weight for the coffee that they collect. Once harvested, they then dry the coffee and let it ferment before they sell it to collectors. Big corporates then buy these out at dirt cheap prices. Because of this, people try to farm as much as they can so that they can collect and receive the money and coffee in batches. Because of the rush process, the beans never ripen enough to hit the necessary sugar content that you can later taste that sweetness in your cup. Also, because of the cheap price, it is impossible to take care of the beans. On the many trips to Vietnamese farms that I've been to, coffee can be seen tossed on the ground, mixed with dirt, and rainy days allow for mold to develop. After harvesting and processing, the coffee is then roasted. For those of you who are interested in chemistry, it's a Maillard reaction. In simple terms, roasting coffee is like caramelizing to develop that distinctive, beautiful roasted aroma and the coloring that we get in each cup of coffee. But what does caramelizing require? Yeah?
Sugar.
Yes, sugar. So now if we use the coffee from earlier, we're lacking the utmost ingredient to properly roast the coffee. So what happens then? The coffee skips the roasting process to then be burnt instead. Because of this, commercialized coffee tends to taste bitter, and this bitterness is advertised as what coffee should taste like. So this makes up our second problem, false advertising. Year after year, if something is said enough, it might become a wrong fact. So, now that our coffee beans have been burnt, it's time to brew them. Brewing works by steeping the coffee. The heat allows the water to extract the water-soluble flavoring compounds. So this creates the aroma, taste, body, and color of the coffee. I would like to use this tool right here to demonstrate you how it works. So this is a fin. It's a traditional Vietnamese brewing medium. It's composed of a brewing chamber, a filter press, and a holder. So, how does brewing work? For this same tool, you want to control temperature, brewing medium, you want to control temperature, coffee-water ratio, time, grind, water, and water turbulence. The fin itself is beautifully engineered, and it's a device that Vietnamese are very proud of. To use it, you first pour water into the chamber with coffee in it to let the extraction begins. As the water flows, it extracts the coffee, and the fin is also cinched at the end. And along with the punch holes, it allows to slow down the extraction and a more even extraction, as I said. So what comes out of this should be a mouth-watering beverage. However, in Vietnam, a lot of people like to use this filter press and add even extra pressure on it. But when you extract something for too long, you also extract the bad soluble compounds out of the coffee, which leads to more bitterness and more caffeine. Again, this is a tradition that might or might not have bad consequences. So now comes our last step, enjoying the coffee. As I mentioned earlier, most of the world enjoys Arabica due to its beautiful and gentle flavors, such as citrus, floral, and fruits, etc. And when I say most, I mean the Western world. For years and years, big coffee associations judge coffee based on the Western palate. They use terms that not many people can relate to, things such as using cherries or berries to describe sweetness, whiskey to describe alcohol taste in coffee, or maple syrup for sweetness, and so on. Because of this, people have become used to the taste of Arabica and associate Robusta flavors to be too strong or abnormal. So this is how my experience with Vietnamese specialty coffee has led me to have an epiphany that our coffee can actually taste good and unique when done right. Specialty coffee is all about utilization and attention to details. From the very first step of planting the tree, we use sustainable and gentle fertilizer that is suitable for the local soil. We also space them out based on the species of coffee and take care of them to make sure that these trees don't get any diseases. It takes tremendous research to grow the coffee in the correct altitudes up in the beautiful mountainous region of Vietnam, in places such as Dong Nai, Dinh Nguyen, Mang Nê. When it comes to harvesting, local farmers who are ethnic minorities are paid higher and more equitable wages. They also receive deposits in order for them to wait until the coffee reaches the designated sugar level through testing. For processing, the deposits allow them to take care of these beans in greenhouses above ground and store them in controlled humidity environments. Processing also varies. You can have the coffee washed, semi-washed, or naturally ferment inside of its fruit for varieties of flavor depth. Then comes roasting. The coffee is handled by crafted roasters who understand the chemistry behind the caramelization process. Every minute, every temperature difference can make a big change in this process. And with this beautiful product, the brewer will feel like they're a jeweler working with gems and metals. Playing with these 7 factors that I mentioned earlier allow for a unique taste each time. This then becomes a final product for consumers to dive into, an experience beyond the caffeine itself. Vietnamese specialty coffee now becomes a full sensorial adventure. The taste and scents from the brew, the sight of the coffee coloring, the sounds from the brewing experience, and the warm or cold sensation from touching your cup. With a change in quality, the world may now experience the beauty of Vietnamese coffee. In fact, the Coffee Quality Institute in America is responsible for creating the set of standardized rubrics to evaluate Robusta that is actually not based on Arabica flavors. And this is the side of Vietnamese coffee that I would like more people to be exposed to. In my country, café or coffee is more than just a beverage. It's a culture and pride of all Vietnamese people. Drinking coffee starts early in the morning, getting people ready for their days. It is also a great way to start a conversation. For lunch, people stop by cafes, grab a bite, and catch up with each other as they sip their coffee. Then comes nighttime. Cafes are open until very late in big cities. Office workers, after work, love to sit down and catch the glimpse of the hustle and bustle of the city with a cup of coffee. For relationships, coffee can also be used as gift, as it is so deeply rooted in our lives. I guess what I've been trying to say is coffee is incredibly versatile, and it's so important to understand and consider the type of coffee that you drink.
When I think of Vietnamese specialty coffee, I think of the painstaking process by which the coffee is produced through the 4 steps that we went through, from being planted to harvested and diligently cared for by the farmers who are paid fair wages, and everything that it goes through to arrive in your cup of coffee. When it comes to culture, Vietnamese specialty coffee has the potential to shed light on how our coffee should be enjoyed. You can drink it bad, iced, numb, hot, or with sữa, milk. And in all forms, the coffee tastes rich and full of unique flavors. Internally, in the coffee world, it allows Vietnam to be more seen and recognized in such a niche market. Worldwide, specialty coffee is devoted to a stronger Vietnamese economy, a country that is already among the leading coffee exporters in the global market. To me, coffee is also one of the reasons I've been lucky enough to pursue a college education and to stand here, share with you about something that I love and that's so sentimental to my family. So, next time you drink a cup of coffee, think about its bean to cup journey and what meanings it might hold for you. Thank you very much.
That was a very inspiring talk. Thanks, Kitty. And once again, if you have any questions, note the usual. Submit or scan this QR code. We'll give you a couple moments. Wait, don't you guys want some coffee now?
Well, you guys are in luck because we're just about to enter our 10-minute intermission. So if you guys want to get some coffee, find some specialty Robusta, you have 10 minutes to do it. Good luck with that.
Yeah. Make sure to stick around as there are 2 more speakers left. So yeah, come back. I'm gonna go get my coffee.